Hey everybody, today we're going to talk about lists in Python. Lists are simply another data type in Python. It's a built-in data type that allows you to store multiple variables with different data types in just a single variable. Okay? Uh, Lists are defined by two square brackets, and you can put any item you want between these two square brackets and assign it to a variable. Okay, as you can see here, this is an example of a list. Lists have some features that make them really useful in Python. And those features are ordered, they're changeable or mutable, and they allow you to save duplicates. Okay, by ordered, it doesn't mean that whenever you enter, for example, 2, 6, 5, 7, 8, 4, 9, it always sorts it. Okay, for example, it sorts it to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, it means that it indexes its items from 0 to infinity, for example. For example, when you say these items in this list, they are indexed from 0, and Apple has the index of 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, and that means they are ordered. The lists are ordered. Another feature of lists is they are mutable or changeable, so you can do many operations, for example adding new items to the list, or removing some items from your list, or concatenating two lists, and so on. And lists simply allow you to save duplicates in them. And these two last features, I mean mutability and duplications in a list, are the main differences of lists with tuples and sets. Tuples are immutable, that means you cannot change them, and we will talk about tuples and sets in future videos, but for now you just need to know that, or you don't need to, that tuples are not changeable, and sets do not allow you to save duplicates. These are the main differences of lists with sets and tuples. So let's define some lists together. The first list, I simply call it list 1. And the first list, let's say we want to just save some numbers in this list. So this is our first list, and there's no problem if we print it. We can see that it's just simply the type list. Okay, now let's define another list together. We can create lists in other lists too, like a matrix, for example. Let's see an example of that. We have a list, and in index 0 of that list we want another list, and that list can be, for example, 1, 2, 3, and in index 1 we want another list again, and A, B, and C. So you see, we have another list as you can see, we have lists in lists. Okay, so a list can contain another list too. So let's print this one too, and the type, you see, this is a list again, and it contains two lists in it. As we said before, we can save different data types in just one list. For example, I want to save one A true and list. For example, this list contains, I don't know, 5, 4, 6, and I want to contain a tuple 2, and this tuple contains, for example, A, 5, and so that's it. You see, we have just one list, and there are different data types saved in this specific list. We have numerical data type, we have strings, we have integer, and we have strings, we have boolean, we have another list, we have a tuple. So we can save any kind of data types and data in just a single list. And if I try to print this one too, you can see that. Let's print 4, and you can see that they're all lists and they're printed like this. Okay, so this is the definition of lists. Let's go one step ahead. We have a function called list, okay, and with that function we can again create lists. And how it works, let's say we want numbers between there's a typo. We want numbers between 0 and 100, but we cannot type it manually. We cannot type it, okay? It's a lot of numbers. So what we can do is that we say list and range. We use range function, and we use 100, and we are telling Python that we want a list from 0 to 100. And if I run it, so there's no problem. And if I print it, print numbers, again typo, print numbers, we can see that it starts from 0, 1, 2, 3, and it goes all the way to 99, because the 100 is not included. Okay, as if you know about ranges, it's not included. Just we want 0 until 100. Okay, not the 100 specifically. And that is about list function. And we are going to talk about indexing now. Indexing, we talked about it before. Python uses zero indexing, and its lists are sorted, indexed, so they are indexed from 0 to the number of items. And besides, we can use negative indexing to, so I talk about it soon. Let's talk about indexing, for example, now. Let's say we have just this numbers, okay, this numbers list, and we want to print the index 5, for example. Numbers in square brackets. We tell Python the index we want to access. So we want to access index 5, and what index 5 is, let's count from here. This is index 0, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It's simply 5. And if I print it, I get 5. Okay? About these lists, let's say we want to access index 1 of list 2. Okay, so I try to print list 2 index 1, and if I try to print it, we get a B. As you can see, it's B. Okay, so it's just simply about indexing. You can use slicing to, for example, we want to access from index 5 to index 10, for example. We can simply print numbers from index 5 to until index 10. And if I print it, I get a list out of this list, which contains 100 items. I get a list with just 5 items, and those 5 items start from index 5 and ends in index 9 specifically, because we want until index 10. So the 10 is not included. The last index we want is always not included, or most of times not included. So it's just 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, and we can use the steps too. For example, we want it to go just for 2 steps. We want to print every 2 steps from index 5 to 10. So let's print it, and you can see 5, 7, 9, all the odd numbers between index 5 and index 10. So it's skipped, simply skipped 6 and 8. So you can see it just uses 2 steps to count to the end index we want. And about negative indexing, we can use negative numbers to access indexes. For example, we want to print the number 99, okay? Or let's consider that we don't know what index has 99, but we know that it is the last item in our index, and we want to access just the last item in our index, in our list. Okay, so we try to print numbers, and this time in these square brackets we just use -1. Okay, and if we run it, we get 99. So Python uses negative indexing to index the list items, and negative indexing starts from -1, and it counts down to minus the items, for example, the number of items. For example, if we try to access index -5, let's say print, it's 95. So let's count: -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. And -5 is 95. Okay, and that is just all about negative indexing. The other thing we are going to talk about is list unpacking. And what list unpacking means. Let's consider, or let's just create another list. We want a list, for example, or let's say names. We want to save some names. We have 3 names in our list, okay? And we want to access each of them separately. We want to save each of these indexes, each of these names in separate variables. And how we can do that? The simplest way to do is that we can simply, you can say now, we can simply just create variables. For example, we want to say first, let's say first, and first is equal to names 0. This one just access Amir because it goes to the list names and access the 0th index, and the 0th index is Amir, so it replaces Amir here, and first would be equal to Amir. And if we try to print first, let's just see what happens. Print first, we can get the output of Amir, okay? But we want to access all of them, so we can say we now succeeded in unpacking our list in 3 different variables, and we can print each of these names separately. But there is another better way, okay? And that is we can type first, second, and third, okay? And they're equal to names. So now each of these variables that are separated by comma are access the related index in the list. For example, this one searches for index 0, and that is Amir. This one searches for index 1, and that is Jack. And this one searches for index 3, and that is Maria. And they will be all fine, no errors. And if we try to print them, we get the same result with simpler and more clean code, okay? But what if we have too many items? For example, let's add 2 more names, Rose and, I don't know, Bob, for example. And now we have 5 items in our list, and we want to access just 3 of them, these 3 first items. And if we try to run this time, we get an error because there are too many values to unpack, but we just specified 3 variables, but there are 4 values to unpack. So there's a problem here, and how we can fix this? We can simply tell Python that using asterisk and some other names, for example, other. Now we are telling Python that we want the first one in this variable, second one this variable, third one this variable, and the rest of the data we just don't need them, or just save them in the other variable. Okay, we don't want the rest of the data. And now if we run this code, we get Amir, Jack, and Maria without any error. Okay, and we can simply use this other to access. For example, let's say we want the first 2 items, and we want the last one too. So we just say last, and now by printing last, we get Amir for first variable, Jack for second variable, rest of the things are just in others, and Bob for the last variable. Okay, because it is the last variable we have here. So if we try to run it, we get Amir, Jack, and Bob. Okay, and this is all about list unpacking. So let's go to the next step, and that is doing some simple math with lists. So you can just concatenate 2 lists and you can multiply a list. And what happens, let's see together. Well, we have, for example, let's use just these lists here. We have list 1, which are all numerical, and list 2 that is all strings in it. So we want to concatenate these two. We use let's say result is equal to list 1 plus list 2, and if we try to print the result, we get this list, this new list that includes all the numbers in list 1 and all the characters in list 2, and this is just one list, okay? And this is the concatenation, and we can multiply list 2. For example, let's just talk about that list 1 that contains just these numbers. We can use let's call it new list, and we want list 1 to be multiplied by 2, for example. And if we run it, let's just print this new list, and if we run it now, we get 1 2 3 4 5, and again 1 2 3 4 5. So it printed, or it multiplied our list by 2, so it repeated it 2 times. It just repeats our list items by this number, okay, by this times. For example, we can use 5 times. So now if I run it, we get 5 times 1 2 3 4 5, 1 2 3 4 5, 1 2 3 4 5, and to the end. Okay, and that's all about concatenation and multiplication in lists. Let's go to the next step, which is, we can say, is if we don't want to say it's the most important, but it's one of the most important parts of lists, and that is the methods. And what are methods? Let's say we have, for example, list 1 that contains these numbers 1 to 5. Here we have list 1. Okay, this is list 1, and we want to add some items to this list. And how we can do that? We can use the built-in methods, the built-in Python methods. And for example, we want to add, for example, let's say list 1, and we want to add a new item to the end of it, because that is numerical, or no, just we want to use strings, and I want to add my name to that, to list 1, and I want to print list 1 this time, list 1, and let's print it another time before appending Amir. And I want to print list 1 here too. Okay, and if I run this block of code, you see the first time, I mean this time, we get 1 2 3 4 5. That is just our list 1. But now we used append and added some new items to the end of our list. And this time, when I try to print list 1, I get 1 2 3 4 5 Amir, because Amir is appended to the end of our list. So append adds some new data, some new items to the end of our list. Okay, but what if we want to add something between 2 and 3? To do so, to add items in a specific index, we can use another method called insert. And by using the insert, we have to pass it 2 parameters. And the first parameter is the index we want to add our new item, and we want to add our new item in index 1 0 1 2, in index 2. Okay, after this one. Index 2, we want to add, let's say, I don't know, 4, 5, 6. And if I print my list this time, this one, we can see, I talk about this one, but we can see that 4, 5, 6 is added in index 2. Okay, so we inserted 4, 5, 6 in index 2. And what about this? We have 2 amirs this time. And why that happens? Because first time we ran this code, we appended amir to list 1, and list 1 is from now on not just this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It has a new item, and that is amir, regardless of this. Okay, and the second time we ran this code, we added another amir. We appended another amir to the end of our list, and if I try to run it again, I get 3 amirs in my list. Okay, 2 times before appending, we appended another time and 3 amirs, and we inserted this one again in index 2, and we have 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6, 3, 4, 5, amir. Okay, so every time I run this code, I am modifying this list, and that is all about mutability of lists that we talked here. Lists are changeable. We can change our existing lists. Okay, so that is about adding some new data to our lists using methods. We can use methods to delete some data too. And these methods, the first one of these methods is pop. We can use pop. Let's print list 1 before using pop, and this time we use list1.pop, and that's it. I just want to use pop without any parameters. I want to see what happens, so I use pop and I print list 1 another time. Okay, and let's run this code. Before we using pop, there was amir here, and after using pop, the last amir, the last item from our index, is now popped out. It's deleted from my list. Okay, but we can pass index to pop too. We can, for example, we have 2, 4, 5, 6 here, and we don't want it, so we want to just delete one of them, and that is in index 2. So we pass index 2 to pop, and this time I run this code, and you see 1 of 4, 5, 6s is now gone. We can use other methods to delete items from a list too, and those are, for example, let's just comment this one. We don't want to repeat what we talked about here, so we just commented. We just comment it out, so it will not get executed every time we run this block. And this time we want to use the method. Let's just print before, print list 1, and this time we want to use list 1 dot remove. And what that remove does is that we can pass the item we want to delete, not the index. Okay, For example, we want to delete Amir. So I tell it, or I pass the parameter Amir, and it searches for Amir in our list and tries to remove it. And if I try to print my list 1 after this operation, we can see that now, before doing this operation, before using remove, we had 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 3, 4, 5 Amir, and after that we have just one Amir. And why? We told Python that we want to remove Amir, but it just removed one Amir, and that is all what remove does. Okay, remove just removes the first item it finds in the list that matches the parameter we passed to it. We passed Amir to it, and it searched in our list, and it found the first Amir and removed it, and that's it. It doesn't search anymore. Okay, and that is about removing items. Method we want to talk about, and that is del method. What del does? Let's say we want to delete a range, delete a slice from this string, that this list that is now 1, 2, this is our list now, list 1, and we want to delete, for example, these 3 items. So how can we do that? The simplest way is to use just, for example, pop and pass each of these indexes, or using remove and pass each of these items. But there's a more simple way, and that is using del function. And what this does is that we can pass the range we want. For example, I want list 1. I want to delete from index 0, 1, 2, from index 2 to index 3, 4. And because the last index we enter is not counted, so we have to enter 2 to 3, 4, 5. Okay, to index 5. And now these 3 items should be gone after we run this code for and I run this code, you see this, and this one are gone now. Okay, so we told Python that we want to delete everything between this index and this index, between index 2 and index 5, and that is about del function. And of course we can use another function which is called clear, and what clear does is that, let's just copy these code to save some time, uncomment it, and just change this part. And what clear does is that, let's say list 1 dot clear, and run it, and boom, you see all the items in my list are now deleted. So I have an empty list, so it empties a list. Okay, and that is all clear do. So we have other methods too, like count. So we can use, for example, we have nothing in list 1, let's use another list. For example, we want to or let's just create another list. Empty list, for example, and we want to count how many A's we have in this list. So we use list 5 that count, and we try to print it, and we run it, Oh, oh, we didn't pass the A. We didn't tell it what we want to count. So now if I run it, we have two. We have two A's in our list, okay? There are many other methods like find or other things that you can use to um, interact with lists, and I'm not going to talk about all of them because there are too many methods, so you can search for them for yourself if you want. So looping, I didn't create any video about for loops or while loops until now, but I will in the future. So if you do not understand this part, just wait for a loops video, or if you're from future, maybe you can find the loops video in my channel. So we have this list, or let's use another simpler list, and I want to print each of them separately. How can I do that? I can use for loop. So I say for item in list 6, for any item in list 6, every time I want to print that item. And that's it. If I run it, I get 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I iterated over this list using for loop, okay? And I can print index too by using enumerate in Python, and this one is built-in too. So I use enumerate and I pass index here, or you can use any other names you want. I'm just using index, and I want to print the index and the number together. And print it. So I have 0, 1, 1 in index 0, number 1, index 1, number 2, index 2, number 3. Okay, and that is about looping through our iterating through a list. And that is all about lists. It's a long video, I know, but I try to talk about the most important things that you must know about lists. I hope this video was helpful and good for you, and just don't forget to subscribe my channel and hit that bell button to get notified whenever I upload new videos. And if you like this video, just hit that like button and have a good time.